Kia ora, good evening. What was hoped to be an internationally recognised ocean race from Auckland to Bluff has been put on hold until final reports are provided. Event management company SMC Events have provided a thorough report following several months of groundwork in preparation for the event that was scheduled to be held in February. However, race organiser Murray Francis of Auckland is yet to provide a final report that includes details of where money was spent. Events Committee Chair Councillor Peter Kett said today he wants further answers, and once all reports are in, an informed decision can be made on the event's potential. Invercargill Mayor Tim Shadbolt last night, during an appearance on QTV, referred to the monetary investment by Council as a feasibility study.
It'll be determined, I guess, by the government in the first place, what they think of this report, and then it'll be looked at by the council. We don't actually have a contract with anyone in this situation. We've just been a funding agency for it so far. So it may, if it doesn't happen, I guess you've just got to see it as research and development. And sometimes it's better in life to really analyse quite carefully what an event is going to be like, and before you actually lunge into it, so it was a steep learning curve.
The Earthquakeprone building bill passed its first reading in Parliament yesterday.
The legislation sets a national timeframe of 20 years for buildings to be strengthened or demolished by requiring territorial authorities to assess buildings within 5 years and for work to be completed or buildings demolished within 15. It also requires a publicly available national register on the seismic capacity of buildings to be established and prioritise work on certain buildings, including buildings of particular significance in terms of public safety and buildings that could, if they collapsed in an earthquake, impede a transport route of strategic importance in an emergency. It enables local councils to issue building consents for required work on earthquake-prone buildings without requiring other upgrades in certain circumstances. Owners of Category 1 historic places may apply for an extension of up to 10 years. Owners of other buildings will also be able to apply for exemptions from the national time frame for strengthening. This provision is intended to apply where the effects of failure are likely to be minimal and could, for example, include low-use rural churches and farm buildings with little passing traffic. The bill has been referred to the Local Government and Environment Select Committee.
The three southern councils have collaborated on the draft local alcohol policy that's currently open for public consultation, saving ratepayers thousands of dollars. The LAP is territorially specific and once finalised will apply to any licensing application made to a district licensing committee in the Southland region. The overall objectives of the proposed policy are harm reduction and safety.
What we're proposing is a 3 o'clock shutdown in the CBD for Invercargill. For bars. Restaurants with on licences would be required to close at 1. That's a shift from the current rules that say that they can stay open until 3. And there'll be some interesting feedback over that, and I guess what people will need to answer is, well, what is it that people are doing in a restaurant between 1 and 3? Are they there going for a meal, or are they there continuing on after having a meal and drinking, in which case, is it ceasing to be a restaurant and becoming a tavern? Those are the sorts of things that people will have to convince us of. Off licences, I think the hours are proposed to come back to 10 o'clock, closing time for that. And also there's a proposal for a one-way door policy, which has attracted a bit of attention, and there's some controversy around that. Some people think there's an opportunity for it to help reduce harm and disorder, and others are a bit more ambivalent. So it'll be interesting to see what feedback. I guess by way of explanation, a one-way door policy means that even though a venue may be able to close at 3 o'clock, from 1 o'clock, if you left that venue, you wouldn't be able to get in to another. So it stops people from leaving and going around from venue to venue. Really, if you're out that late, and that's fine, if you want to stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning, just make up your mind what place you're going to be at. And it means there should be, theoretically, a reduction in inner city disorder and harm. For a long time, I guess we've had, and it's not just a New Zealand thing, it's quite an Antipodean thing, a very cavalier attitude towards alcohol. And what the government's saying now is people need to take their responsibilities both as licence holders and sellers of alcohol and also as consumers a lot more seriously. You see now, particularly in youth culture, real issues with binge drinking and people who are just getting utterly out of control. And it's not just the out of control and the harm that comes from that to the general situation, but also the harm they're doing to themselves.
The east coast of the main Auckland Island in the sub-Antarctic could soon be home to a new research station. Conservation Minister Dr Nick Smith has proposed a research station be built to assist with climate change research and the study of deep-sea currents in the Southern Ocean. The station would consist of a new floating jetty, 2 accommodation blocks for long-term stays, 1 block for short-term stays of up to 14 people, a block of 2 wet labs and a boat shed. It's expected to cost $3 million, and the consortium proposing the new station includes NIWA, the New Zealand Antarctic Research Institute and the Universities of Otago and Victoria. Meanwhile, a low pup count of New Zealand sea lions on the Auckland Islands has prompted a threat management plan for the species to review risks and explore measures to ensure their survival. The 1,575 pups counted on the Auckland Islands this year is down 18% on last and is the 3rd lowest since monitoring began in the mid-1990s. The reason for the decline is not clear, but an earlier investigation indicated environmental change and prey abundance may have played a role, while evidence shows bacterial disease has reduced pup survival rates in recent decades. Sea lions have been declared a threatened species under the Marine Mammals Protection Act and breed mainly on Auckland, Campbell and Stewart Islands, and have more recently started breeding on the South Otago coastline. Hooker sea lions once numbered in the hundreds of thousands throughout New Zealand, but hunting for blubber and skins decimated the species in the 19th century. Stay with us after the break. South Alive present their Supreme Garden Award. Welcome back. South Alive celebrated the efforts of gardeners entered in the summer garden competition today. Awards represented over 7 categories, with the overall Best Garden Award going to Priscilla Bowden for her garden at Lavender Cottage. South Alive Chair Colin Anderson says it was hard work for the judges as the standard was so high despite the marginal summer conditions.
This one was Summer Splendour, which of course is a challenging time of year to have your garden up and just showing everything at the right time.
But you said it was a challenging season.
Oh, very much so, yes. I don't know what happened to summer this year, but we seem to have missed out. We've had a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and it's very hard, particularly for the flowers and so forth, getting them right.
Why did South Alive decide to have this competition?
When you look around the town, gardens feature and make a huge difference to the way we feel about our community, the way our community looks. So focusing on the gardens made a big difference and gives people a pride, and it also recognises those people who do spend a lot of time in their garden. In fact, if we look at New Zealand, probably one of the biggest hobbies in New Zealand is gardening, and it's good to recognise people who have put in that extra effort. Congratulations,
it is a great garden. What was your secret?
Not to have everything in a row, and just whatever you feel in the way of plants, just put them anywhere you feel like it, because the garden is not, it's just things put anywhere.
Do you treat it as a living space, like it's an extra room?
Yes, it is, yes.
And you
it definitely
furnish
is. Yes, with whatever you want to put in it.
And you and your family spend a lot of time out in this outdoor area?
We do, yes, a lot over the summer months and winter too. We sit out the back and we have a wee fire going yeah, we make the most of the outdoor space.
What are your favourite plants? Do you have any, or are you just like?
Plants, I would say hollyhocks. I love them. They've grown so tall this year. And roses, lavender. I love lavender. The house is actually called Lavender Cottage, and we've sort of taken off that in those colours and the lavender and the roses, and sort of try to get the colours all combined together.
It is a great way of delivering a message, this competition, isn't it? Because people can sit there and see, well, look, I could do that, I'm going to enter next year, and people looking over the fence going, well, look what they've done, I could possibly have a go myself.
Yes, I wasn't even going to enter it, didn't even cross my mind, but my son came back from Australia and He was amazed at what we'd done here, because there was nothing here when we came 7 years ago, and he said, enter it, Mum, because you never know your luck.
An online survey of over 1,800 New Zealanders prescribed antidepressants in the past 5 years has shown 8 out of 20 adverse effects were shown by more than half the participants.
Sexual difficulties and feeling emotionally numb are the two most commonly experienced side effects reported by people taking antidepressants, according to a new study by University of Auckland researchers. The research also reported that over 2/5 reported gaining weight and that 62% of people reported experienced sexual difficulties, 60% reported feeling emotionally numb, 52% reported feeling not like themselves, 42% reported a reduction in positive feelings, 39% reported caring less about others, 39% also reported feelings of suicidality, 55% had withdrawal effects. Study co-author Dr. Kerry Gibson says that the rise in use of antidepressants in recent years and study findings are a concern, with 1 in 9 adults and 1 in 6 women prescribed these drugs every year. She said potential side effects are more common than previously thought, with 8 of the 20 adverse effects reported by more than half the participants.
This week is Sea Week, a week where New Zealanders are encouraged to get down to the seaside and get involved in conservation activities. Sea Week Southland coordinator Monica Torito says the week's all about appreciating and protecting the natural habitats around our coast. Ms Torito believes some young people have become estranged from the seaside and that a good rock pool full of life can be so much more interesting and interactive than a tablet.
I think they're not as connected as what we were as kids. I remember going down to the sea, loving it, the beach, check out all the wildlife and everything. Now it's sort of like, oh, must we go down? I'll bring my tablet down and sit in, in the sand and play with it. So it's you try and mix the two. Use the tablet as an education tool so that when they come out into that environment, they sort of know what's going on, are a little bit more aware of where everything is and how it can be responsible.
And it is a rich environment, isn't it? There's a lot to look at and very interactive too, better to me than any computer.
Definitely. For me as well, I bring my kids down here and I make sure all the electronic stuff stays at home. It's a home thing for when it's raining. We come down here, we have an absolute ball. We look at all the rocks, the different species in the rocks. The kids have finally figured out what all these little things that move around the sand are. Then we do go home and use technology to find out what those things are. They learn about life cycles and things like that, and they're much more aware of whatever action they do on land affects the sea as a whole as well.
And you've got some students here coming down to actually monitor sections of the beach.
Yes, that's
How
right.
does that work?
Yep, the Otago University have got a program that they launched, I think it was like end of last year. It's called Marine Metered Square. You measure out a square metre of your rock pool. They've also done it now with mud flat, and you come down, you print off all the information that you need online. You print it off, you bring it down, and you find out exactly what is living in that area of your rock pool, and then you enter it onto the database, and it allows the biologist, as well as yourself, after you've done it a few times, you might come back every 3 months, to see the growth of your area, of your beach, for example. Also any declines, any new species coming in, seasonal changes, increases in animals or seaweed, and it allows the biologist in Otago to monitor the whole of New Zealand as opposed to just small sections at a time. And it's really, really great for slightly older students, 11, 12, to get involved in something like that.
And that's it from the news desk. Sport follows the weather next. From the news team, good night.